Thank you very much, Mane, the moderator. Let me say good afternoon to all and permit me to stand on all existing protocols. I'm not making any formal statement. I will just be expressing my profound gratitude to all present here. And this will start by appreciating and thanking the media who have been standing under this auspicious sun whilst others were in the shades. It's your sense of patriotism, your commitment to national duty that has allowed you to stand for this long. Not only to stand this long, but also to be part of the procession for a very long distance. We appreciate you very much. The Gambians and of course the organizers of this event can never be more grateful to you. Today marks the 10th anniversary of the unlawful arrest, detention, subsequent torture, and death of Solosandeng, who was on the 3rd of April 2016 elected as the National Organizing Secretary of the United Democratic Party, having served as the youth president for several years. The event of the 14th April was really initiated by Solosandeng and his colleagues, the Honorable Samba Jallo, Honorable Member for Nyamira Dampo constituency. The invitation to commence this process was in fact signed by Honorable Samba Jallo and all other opposition parties except, let me just emphasize it because people are saying all parties agreed except Joy agreed to be part of the process. PPP endorsed the process even though they did say that they were not going to attend all of the meetings, but whatever decision was taken, they were bound by it. So it was NRP, NDP, GNC, and GDC, and independent, represented by Keva Senator, who really pioneered this event that led to Solosandeng's arrest on the 14th of April 2016. Solo did not go out in protest of the Solo did not go out. Can I have a better mic, please? Solo did not go out, and his colleagues, they never went out to promote a united democratic agenda. They went out to promote and propagate and advance a national agenda. A national agenda directed at electoral reforms. The election laws, the constitution, everything was heavily weighted in favor of self-perpetuation. Solo, his colleagues, and of course the organization, the party that he belonged to, believed that this was a non-starter, is a situation that cannot allow to continue. And efforts should be made to ensure that you have proper electoral reforms, not only proper electoral reform, but also democratic process in the country would be one that measures up to accepted international practices. And that includes, of course, the freedom of association, the freedom to protest, the freedom to demonstrate without permit. Because Solo and his colleagues believe that if you have a right to do anything, you do not need a permission to exercise that right. They of course agree that in the exercise of that right, they would have to take into consideration the rights of others. And this is what spurred Solo and his colleagues to go out. All political parties protested against the hiking of the presidential nomination fees to 1 million by the former regime. After a lot of protestations, this was reduced to 500,000. And other elective offices, those nomination fees were also increased, were accordingly also reduced. So what was then considered as unacceptable, even though some reasonable people never thought that that was acceptable, to be an acceptable level of fee pegging. The promise of the Gambian people was electoral reforms. The promise of the Gambian people was the repeal of the Public Order Act. The promise of the Gambian people was a new constitution, a constitution that bridles the government, a constitution that gives the Gambian citizens the ultimate power and right to ensure that they effectively control their government through their representatives in the National Assembly. That was the promise given to the Gambian people. Alas, 10 years after Solo's death, none of those political agenda and constitutional agenda have been implemented. It was only in 2026, that the National Assembly passed the elections bill after Solo fought for this for 10 years. But yes, an election bill has been passed, but has it addressed Solo's concerns and his colleagues? Fatmata Kamara, Fatmata Jawara, Nogonjai, and I mentioned them because they are females, and others compromised their liberties, accepted to be subjected to torture for proper electoral reforms. But instead of having these reforms, we have this government that committed itself to genuine electoral processing, still maintains the attestations as a document that could qualify anybody to obtain voter's card. We all know how the attestations are abused. Ineligible people, either because they are non-Gambians or because they do not attain the age qualification, are indiscriminately given attestations by alcalos who do not know even every member of their own cabilo, giving attestations to everyone who comes out to say, yes, I'm born in this village. Sefolo, who do not know, all the persons in their villages indiscriminately give attestations to anyone. This was not what Solosandeng fought for. This was not why Nogonjai went to prison. This was not why Fatmata Jawara went to prison. And for Fatmata Jawara, for a National Assembly, of which Fatmata Jawara is part of, to pass such a legislation is certainly a mockery to Fatmata Jawara. It's certainly denigrating the sacrifices by Fatmata Jawara, because he went out to protest. He said that I do not want attestations to be a document that should entitle anyone to a voter's card. Yes, the National Assembly that Fatima Jawa is part of has endorsed that. Not only that, Mohamed Sanden has mentioned it. The nomination fees for presidential candidates have been raised to $1 million. The registration fees for political parties have now been raised to $2 million, so that the constitutional right of freedom of association for people to get together and register a political party is now being monetized. It's now been, that constitutional provision is now being denied to the Gambian people. That's not sufficient. Been denied to the Gambian people because of the scandalously exorbitant fee that has been placed. So that if a group of young journalists who do not believe in the status quo and who do not believe that the political powers, the political parties in existence do not respond to their aspirations, they cannot now form a political party because of the scandalously exorbitant fee of $2 million. Where is the electoral reform? In fact, what has been done is to further bastardize our electoral process, is to further ensure that all the ills that a corrupt, a self-perpetuating government would want to do, they are now given the tools to do so. Now, Mohammed has appealed to young people that it should not be idle bystanders. We should rise up to the occasion. You should rise up. The challenges are now yours. That you must make sure that what Solosandeng died for is not, what he died for is only something not in vain. Each time I talk about Solosandeng, I don't mourn him, although sometimes I get really emotional. My tears roll. But those tears rolling is not a tears of mourning. It's tears of celebration. Celebrating his patriotism, celebrating his altruism, his determination, his commitment, his selflessness for a Gambia that he has always dreamt of. It's not a story. When he said Solo, I said, no, if I'm to be the sacrificial lamb for Gambia to be free, let me be killed. Let me be murdered. He said so. And lo, you have to become a sacrificial lamb. He is one whose life has been taken away for this country. And for that, we must celebrate him. And the Nyaling, Sandeng, I know you are not here, but the Gambia is grateful to you and your siblings for giving us a father like Solo. Nima, well, maybe in ordinary course of things, you could be a mini Mandela of the Gambia. It could be. But the sacrifices that your husband has made for this country will not go in vain. The Gambians are today readier than yesterday to ensure that we have proper electoral reform for this country, so that sorrow as a memory will continue to linger in our minds, in the belief that what he has stood for has been achieved. He was not alone in it. I mentioned the three women, but there was Lamaron, there was Modungam, there was Falan Sonko, there was I think GT, there was Bubakar GT in Gunju. There was Lamin Jata from Brikama. Many, the list is long, but there are all these honorable men who put their lives on the chopping board for this country here, and what they did for, is still yet to be accomplished. When we celebrate these days, we reflect and rededicate and recommit ourselves to really doing for the Gambian people what Solo and his colleagues set themselves out to do. If we do not, we will fail. We have started failing. But then our failures, we must arrest. The failure that we have started doing, we must arrest it. And redirect ourselves to ensuring that we succeed in achieving for Solo what he died for. If we do so, he will rest in eternal peace. But if we don't, he'll continue to convulse in his grave. Because he'll be saying, he'll be looking at us, saying that, yes, this is not why I went out. I decided to take the procession to the spot where he was arrested. And I think properly, that should be the venue of this celebration. That should be a reminder that it was on this spot, on 14th April, Thursday, Solo and his colleagues were arrested. For what? For seeking a better constitutional order for the Gambia. For what? For seeking better electoral laws for the Gambia. For what? For seeking a government whose legitimacy cannot be questioned, because that government's legitimacy is derived from a constitution that is the will of the Gambian people. That government legitimacy is derived from electoral laws that has been the will of the Gambian people. That's what he wanted. That's what he stood for. We thank all of you for really coming out, even if it was only one person that came out. It's for us or for me, it's sufficient. Any Gambian today who saw us from Bamboo to here cannot miss the fact that, yes, there was a Solosandeng, and they will continue in privately among themselves. Yes, there's a need for changing this country. There's a need that everyone should get together and achieve what Solosandeng has started doing. Let us continue it. This evening, the conversation will continue at the lectures, which I think is the most important, probably the most important part of this commemoration. It is that lecture that will really spur us, make us redirect ourselves, and a correctional direction that we take today, I'm sure, will be inspired by those lectures. So I ask every one of you to be there. I thank you all, and may God bless Solosandeng soul, Nga Marong, Solo Koroma, Ibrahima Janko Solo, Ibrahima Janko Sise, and all others who, Nanogonya and others who died due to the residuary effect of the tortures that they suffered. I thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Coming for Colombia Mulungati, don't fail the Kumboka, the Basola Sayama Kumboka, but Madrasola Saya Kumboka. Maybe Solomba Juraka, the Marasa Juraka. God come on a Kumbo, Mayanam Kafoko, Alafa Sunda Kulela, Mayanam Kafoko, a monkey the man benefit. Basola Saya Sunda Munella, Gambia Bella, the man Mena, or Gambia Day, and Amonio. Falan Sonko, Modungom, Kafubayo, Fatmata Kamara, Fatmata Jawara, Dogonjai, and Jama, Bimma, Ibrahima Janko Sise, Eprekaro Titani Nanono, if on the Piram Sanji Tanki, if on the little Menkaiko, if Laftelen Naluame, Laft Marta, Karafama, when you banko come, Falindre Kajeto, Katafala Kanya. If a full lot moment we are there. Masakuna Membidano. I got 5 million on Carta Fioda. Ila demonstrate presidential candidate, million killing. Be a church on the York and be a church on the York, Yakala. yake million talati ba solo ko hani de anala mo ko hani ko man kanya ko ni bitara karta ni la nyanda ka don mel funtin la won kono attestation al kal kunta ye sede ya ko to banko dule ko ata me long ame fa long ame wulu la long solo ko nyanta mo bare maza kuna dum fana membe siri atata mo ka yo la mo la ko al sebodina solo la sa kana ke kensenti nyanta men kala ngake ko solo ko mo le funti ya demonstration oke kan duale ya sembodi la ni loi sembodi mo la loi sembodi mo la pour yam kumenke imanyanna kan ni na mo ko fo nyanta kala ba duale ya sembodi solo la to wala but hanmi bobbi ko da abije to mo to ku ke no la hanni men na ga to ganni ma ngai bi na pabi to stala ba ko constitutional member is a right. So no, if you have the right, you don't need permission. Another one later one. But in B, Lomu, called Javiata. I want you to come to moment as well before. B, political party, neighbor Islam in Bangkok. That's a million fuller. Niko Bello as presidential candidate, that's a million killing. Mayor, chairman, or deputy. Ibela fiseli abeka funde so political palaso nata mundimale fan kamale beli ya soto yofondike muso memelori maybe ademo better candidate for national assembly election and a constituency barba ko do tamudo adelo no bawo e fiseli beli ya kafu intel ko electoral reform ban namuna ke nganya ka ko luwan falinne pour man sakuna membe siri asafa tonton nyame monta asala sulo dum nyom nyam banko ka adebala adum ni maken solo fati to gambia ko lu international solo la fay ke ken senti was na mbena katake ko solo dalilo me adna fata ko dalilo ni na topoto so as men asaso ban solo man tam amanta asin man atilla la kabro ko bi beni mam so abe mam kala kabro ko kan ko munda ko lafta men na man solo ka te tum ko la kabro ko bare be mo be templa journalist solo ala barka tilo gadi tanyawnya albero ni tilo ko ala kamera sel bal bulu albero ko dinna ala baraka bake bal banku din kende be nyima nyalin sande ini kotodo bal be templa gambia bal be templa ko ale fasoto fame ya fandi gambia la fame ya lo ngabo ko ako nintala saya nintala fa wala bagala gambe ko da dukara lin fa bang ada yok mo men fole ta ke ya ta muta ya fa gambe ko ta anyima eke de soto ba tan la ma do la ay sa la maron ba kamera albe na nan tuti baje ti jando bari alhamdulillah umela ko islo wala kan better to kan jay na magas nolo Femi Peters Lamin Damonde ba Sengunyasi tutel albe ngal better to ngal jay alama biola ba bidu nin kana ke ka ko ngana do na ma to ke do ngata dalila la yake ni solo funta o dalilo anna mulo no ma aje ko alo la semena ngosoto atel fondi kaldu atelata burden is on you. Mama dia apa nak makan? Aku failing. Macam mana ni kita failing fine. Baik failing muka kau continue kan. Baik failure le kata. Ada kena song. Aike. Kami apa ni kau tu? Kami yang kau. Allah responsibilities Allah ta. Me jendro kela. Lafta kadiam zurwa kan tu baik tu police wol ba ko la ko la time mo se da ya solo ma laf ina solo ma laf ina la nu sena na yana mi ya ku fi ko ta time mo se solo ma laf ina nu wala ya tina ko na proper response and inshallah the proper response la li ba ko kan result binale na meeting la do ba na ya fu mo le ko wa do sita ni male dama len gërem de santa ci ma mbokk yi se wax bi jot na li Solosandeng nag li la doon jànkuwante nii war ka am waaye nag tey nag ñëwuñ fii pour leneen day ñëw màggal Solosandeng màggal bés bi te bés màggal la màggal bés bi màggal Solosandeng so waxtaan bi nag comme nga ñu ne waxtu bi jeex na te ñu ne ma ne tuuma ñu ne ade ko luwa doro so ba du nga luwa doro tax su ko mo dana